No, that's not correct. It is correct, I can see. You're more interested in that kind of stuff. Yes or no? Those who know Jadin can help me out in finding the answer.
What is the question, ma'am?
Question is, what is D by Haeckel Onsager equation?
Never mind.
What
Ma'am,
is D
your
by
voice
Haeckel
was buffering,
Onsager
ma'am, so I
equation?
couldn't hear.
Okay, okay. Right. We were discussing about this graph, yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I want somebody to give the summary. Yes, Ayan.
Ma'am, can you invite Krithia, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Ayan. What was the points we discussed?
Ma'am, we discussed about variation of conductivity and molar conductivity with concentration, and
Yeah.
we found it that lambda
What are the major points we
m
discussed for
to
conductivity?
ma'am, we discussed that both conductivity and molar conductivity change with the concentration of the electrolyte, and
What is happening to the conductivity on dilution?
ma'am, it decreases.
Why
In,
conductivity decreases on dilution?
ma'am, it decreases because ma'am, the uh,
You can read from the text, I mean the notebook you might have written from the class.
yes, ma'am, yes.
Ma'am,
You
can you
can.
invite Krithia, please?
Yes, I am continue. Why conductivity decreases on dilution?
Ma'am, the conductivity decreases with decrease in concentration. Uh, because the number of ions per unit volume that carry the current in a solution decreases on dilution.
Okay. Then what is happening to molar conductivity?
Sorry, ma'am.
What is happening to molar conductivity on dilution?
Ma'am, molar conductivity increases with decrease in concentration.
Hmm.
This happens because the volume of solution containing 1 mole of electrolyte also increases.
Hmm.
Ma'am,
That is more than compensating the decrease in the conductivity, right?
yes, yes.
There
Ma'am,
will be,
but
yeah,
it has been compensated by increase in its volume.
yeah. The conductivity will decrease when you are diluting, but that decrease is compensated by increase in the volume. Increase in the volume mean ions can be moving freely to like throughout the electrolyte. So it just increases the conductance. So that is why molar conductivity increases for any type of electrolyte, whether irrespective of strong or weak, molar conductivity increases on dilution. Yeah. And we were looking at this graph and you can see KCl and acetic acid. KCl is a strong electrolyte and acetic acid is a weak electrolyte. For both strong and weak electrolyte, molar conductivity increases on dilution, but the increase is more for weak electrolyte. And what was the reason? Why for weak electrolyte molar conductivity increases so sharp? The graph is, you can see, steep. It's going steep compared to one for KCl. Both is increasing on dilution, but for weak electrolyte, the increase is so steep or sharp that it's a increase in molar conductivity is more than for strong electrolyte. Why? Ionization increases, or you can say degree of dissociation. That means acetic acid and the normal condition is partially ionizes and it's a reversible equilibrium. But for KCl being strong, it's 100% ionized whenever you make a solution. KCl, whether it's strong or weak, I mean the strong electrolyte, but you make a concentrated or diluted solution. Whenever you make a solution of KCl, it is 100% ionized. But that is not the case for acetic acid. Normally you make a solution, it is only partially ionized, but when you dilute it, the degree of dissociation, that means ionization increases. So more ions are found, mean conductance increases, right? So that is what the reason. So that's what the last point we discussed, if I'm not mistaken. So you can just make a note of that. For a weak electrolyte, degree of dissociation, that we can write, or the extent of ionization increases on dilution. For weak electrolyte, the degree of dissociation for weak electrolytes, the degree of dissociation or the extent of ionization. For weak electrolyte, the degree of dissociation or the extent of ionization increases on ionization, increases on dilution. Increases on dilution. Hence, molar conductivity increases. Molar conductivity increases more sharply than for a strong, than with a strong electrolyte. More than compared to a strong electrolyte. So the degree of dissociation or extent of ionization, that's what increasing. Now we're going to discuss it in detail. So before that, yesterday we were discussing about limiting molar conductivity. So I'll just want to take you to back to that discussion if it is not clear. So limiting molar conductivity means it is molar conductivity at infinite dilution, or you can say zero dilution. That means if you look into the graph, you can see that your decrease, yes, this is the starting concentration. And here you can see this is the starting concentration. And when you are decreasing the concentration, mean you are moving from right to the left, the concentration is decreasing. And when the concentration reaches to the zero, okay, that point, what is the value of delta, I mean lambda m, that is known as lambda m0. That means the molar conductivity value corresponding to zero concentration is known as limiting molar conductivity. Okay, so that's what you can see over here. When concentration approaches to zero, because you're doing a process of dilution, you're diluting an electrolyte so that the concentration is decreasing, decreasing, decreasing. Finally, when it reaches to zero, at that particular point, what is the molar conductivity value? That is known as limiting molar conductivity. So we usually write lambda m0.
Ma'am, when the concentration appears zero,
Approaches zero. That
ma'am,
means
yeah, okay. It approaches zero, ma'am. So when it starts to approach zero, that molar conductivity is the limiting molar conductivity.
That's what in the graph you can see. That's what yesterday I was talking about, finding the lambda m0, because you cannot use an instrument to measure the limiting molar conductivity, because the concentration is almost zero. If it is zero, that is a pure solvent. It is almost equal to zero. In that case, you cannot measure it because it's a very, very, very dilute solution. Concentration is almost equal to zero, mean concentration is very, very less. So you cannot measure it using the conductivity cell. Only thing what you can do is, like, from the graph, just extrapolate the graph. Extrapolation mean if you already know the shape of a graph, you can just extend it like this in both the sides. So if you extend the graph and the point where it touches the y-axis is denoted with the term lambda m0. And this is for only strong electrolyte. For a weak electrolyte, this extrapolation method cannot be adopted because you can see the graph is going parallel to y-axis and it will never ever touch on the y-intercept. I mean the y-axis, right? So this method is only applicable for strong electrolyte where you can extrapolate the graph and the point where it touches the y-axis is the limiting molar conductivity. So to measure or to calculate the limiting molar conductivity, you have to use a graphical method. You cannot use an instrument conductivity cell to measure its value because it's a very, very dilute solution. Only using the graphical method, and that too for strong electrolyte, only you can calculate the molar conductivity at infinite dilution. Is that clear? Yeah.
Ma'am, will that limiting molar conductivity be the highest value of molar conductivity?
Yeah, because that should be the highest value as per the rule because molar conductivity is increasing on dilution. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
So just note it down if you are not written the statement for limiting molar conductivity lambda m0. When the concentration approaches 0, the molar conductivity is known as limiting molar conductivity, or the other term is molar conductivity at infinite dilution. The dilution is so small that it's almost equal to 0. That is why it's not a 0 concentration. Technically 0 concentration means there is no solute, right? Only solvent is there. So that means that's not a solution. But the concentration is very close to 0 that it's you can be taking it as a 0. So when you extrapolate the graph and touch the point on the y-axis, that can be taken as lambda m0 because the concentration is very small that it is almost equal to 0. That is why it's known as concentration when it approaches to 0. They didn't say that when concentration is equal to 0. That is technically wrong. Because if it's a 0, then it's not a solution, it's only a solvent. When it approaches to 0 means just after the 0 point. That means, yeah, after 0 means something 0.000 something like that. Very close to 0, but you can take it as 0. Yeah. Okay. I hope this term is clear, limiting molar conductivity. For strong electrolyte, the connection, this is how you can see that the graph is there. You can see lambda m is plotted on y-axis. C raised to 1 by 2, that means root C, is plotted on x-axis. And the graph is extrapolated to find the lambda m0. And this relation can be expressed in a particular equation called d by Huckel-Onsager equation. This equation is known as d by Huckel-Onsager equation, which is equal to a straight line equation of straight line you might have studied in math. Y is equal to mx plus c. So here y-axis you are plotting lambda m. X-axis you are plotting c raised to 1 by 2, that means root c. What is the m value? Slope. Slope is m, right? Minus a, right? Because it's mx plus c. A is a constant which is particular for a particular electrolyte. That depends on the temperature and the nature of electrolyte. Okay, so A is a constant. Otherwise, also straight line equation, you can see that it's a constant. So M is equal to slope and y-intercept, that is lambda m0.
This is the relation between limiting molar conductivity and molar.
Yeah. So this is only for strong electrolyte. You can see this is an important equation which is like in the format of a straight line equation showing the relation between molar conductivity and limiting molar conductivity. And this particular equation is derived by two scientists. That's why it's known as, from the name, Debye-Huckel and Onsager equation. You have to. I think you don't have to go into detail of this equation, just you should know that what is the equation relating molar conductivity and limiting molar conductivity.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, this is only for strong electrolytes, right?
Only because for strong electrolyte only it's a straight line. For a weak electrolyte, you can see the graph is like a curve, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So for that you can't apply this this equation. For
Okay.
weak electrolyte, you cannot measure lambda m0 by graphical method because it's not
It's
never
going
ever
to
intersecting.
infinity.
Yeah, it's going
Yes.
parallel to the y-axis. At least once somewhere you have drawn, then it's fine. At least once you should draw this graph. Even without the reading, just float it like this way. Just float that it is root C and lambda graph, lambda m graph, and just say that first weak electrolyte and strong electrolyte, because once they asked about drawing graph for strong and weak. Okay, so just without the reading, just the shape. This is for strong. It's like a straight line with not much steeper, because the change is not much compared to weak. And a graph, a curvy kind of graph for weak electrolyte, and it's going very steeper as the dilution increases. So no need to put any values, these readings, but just float root C versus lambda m graph and the shape of strong and weak electrolyte. Okay, in the next slide, there is an explanation for this Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. As you can see, it is specifying what and every term. The slope is equal to minus A. Everything we discussed, so you don't have to repeat it again. So just mention all these things in your. A is a constant which depends on the solvent and the temperature. Which type of electrolyte? Everything is dependent. So that much is enough. It's a constant depending on the temperature, nature of electrolyte and solvent. Only that much is enough from Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. So each term, lambda is molar conductivity, lambda m0 limiting molar conductivity. A is the slope of the graph, which is a constant depending on the temperature, nature of electrolyte, etc. And C, concentration in the y-axis. I mean the root C, C raised to 1 by 2. So how can we measure lambda m0 for a weak electrolyte? That is a problem. For a strong electrolyte, using a graphical method, you extrapolate the graph and the y-intercept is taken as lambda m0. But what we can do for weak electrolyte? We cannot use graphical method. For a strong electrolyte, lambda m0, that is limiting molar conductivity, can be calculated by extrapolating the graph. Yeah, that's the y-intercept will be lambda m0. What we will do to calculate for weak electrolyte? Yeah, yesterday. That's what I was asking. I just want to know how many were attentive yesterday. That is a different thing in physics. Yeah, I said something. Cauchy-Riesch's law. Okay, so that is what next thing which I'm going to discuss. Cauchy-Riesch's law of independent migration of ions. So first we will discuss Cauchy-Riesch's law. Then we will see. Yes.
Ma'am, can you show the previous slide? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is the last topic in this chapter, Caldash's law. Caldash's law and its application, and then some numericals. By that we can finish. And then we'll move to organic, okay? We'll start the organic after this. Caldash's law of independent migration of ions, it actually states that limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is the sum of individual contribution of the anion and the cation. That means the lambda M04 NaCl, if you want to calculate what is the limiting molar conductivity of NaCl, then it is equal to the sum of contribution of Na plus ion and sum of the contribution from Cl minus ion. This is what known as Caldash's law. So total limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is equal to their individual contribution of the ions. So if you have calcium sulfate, then the limiting molar conductivity of calcium sulfate will be limiting molar conductivity of calcium ions and plus limiting molar conductivity of sulfate ion. So both cation and anion, whatever is its contribution, if you add them together, you will get the limiting molar conductivity of that particular electrolyte. Okay. Actually, yeah, we use lambda m total, we write capital letter lambda, which is just like this, and this is small letter lambda, that is for the individual ions. Here, don't think, because in PPT we don't have all these symbols, so this way please write. The total molar conductivity in capital letter lambda m 0, and for individual ions small letter lambda m 0. So this is just the statement. There is nothing is more required in Caldash's law. But how can we use this in calculating limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte? This is the law, Caldash's law. They say that the total limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is the sum of individual contribution of anion and cation. Caldash's law is like very important law. Most of the time they ask the statement. Whenever the statement is asked, you need to write this equation, at least with one sample, NaCl or something, whatever. So write don't just write it only the definition in Word, just write it as one example with equation, so that it will be complete. Because the statement is very small. Yeah.
Do we have to give a sentence saying that it is sodium chloride?
Just show. Or generally you can write like this. Limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is equal to lambda m0 of positive ions plus lambda m0 of negative ions. Here you write electrolyte. Yeah. This is generalized, but you take one example and write, that is also fine. Just to show that this is what they meant in by Caldash's law.
All lambda, right?
Yeah.
All lambda, right?
Yeah. One is capital letter lambda, other one is small letter lambda. Capital letter lambda we used to write like this only. Okay, just like V inverse, like inverse of V. Okay, small letter lambda is this one. That this lambda is very common to you. Right?
Inverse of V and inverse of Y.
This is generalized. The other one was only for NaCl. So anything is fine. You will find this one, I think in the textbook it is there. So anything is fine. You should just need to know any one of them.
Normally we use small letter lambda, right?
For ions, yeah.
Yeah, for ions.
This one
And
electrolyte.
now where do we use the capital letter lambda?
Because that's for the total.
Ma'am, so the total is always okay.
Hmm? That will be different from the individual quantum, just to differentiate it, that's it. Okay, let's see then how we can apply Corlash's law to calculate the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte. Okay, so we know that ammonium hydroxide is a weak electrolyte, NH4OH, because it is undergoing only partial ionization. So in order to calculate the limiting molar conductivity of ammonium hydroxide, the value of ammonium chloride is a strong electrolyte, sodium hydroxide is a strong electrolyte, and this is again a strong electrolyte. So how can you calculate the limiting molar conductivity of ammonium hydroxide?
This will be right now. You will write this one.
Wait, yeah, I'll explain it and then you can write. This is what I'm discussing now. Calculating limiting molar conductivity of ammonium hydroxide, and this is a weak electrolyte. The value of all the strong electrolyte will be available, because strong electrolyte you can do it from the graphical method. So you have got all the value for the limiting molar conductivity of strong electrolyte. So using those values and applying Corlash's law, you can calculate limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte. So you look for NH4OH. NH4OH contains ammonium ions and hydroxide ion. So you can write like that. This will be equal to lambda M0 of NH4Cl plus lambda M0 of NaOH minus, because NH4Cl you just need NH4 value only. Cl is not there in your compound. And from NaOH you just have OH to become, like, because from these two, this is there in your ammonium hydroxide and this is there in your ammonium hydroxide. So what you have to remove from them? Na and Cl. That means minus lambda M0 of NaCl. Because for these ions, the values are fixed at particular temperature, right? So if you know what is the value of ammonium chloride and sodium hydroxide minus value for NaCl, what you will get will be for ammonium hydroxide, because from NH4 plus and Cl minus and NaOH, you're cutting down, removing the value for NaCl. So what is left? NH4 ions and OH minus ions. Clear? See what all ions you need for ammonium hydroxide, NH4 plus and OH minus ion. But the values of these three were given in the question. Not the individual ion. The total value of ammonium chloride, sodium hydroxide and NaCl is given. From three of them, you just need value of this and this only. Right? But the individual value is not given. Only the value of the total molar conductivity of ammonium chloride, sodium hydroxide, NaCl. The ions value is not given. So what you will do, you will add the first two together and subtract NaCl. So that what you will get is the value of NH4 plus ion plus value of OH minus ion. That is what ammonium hydroxide.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, the first three are a strong electrolyte, right?
Yeah, strong, always a value of strong electrolyte will be given. Using that value only you can calculate for the weak electrolyte, and which law you're using is Corlash's law. So it's like an application of Corlash's law in order to calculate the molar conductivity for a weak electrolyte.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, that's what, if you look into the first part of it, if you subtract the value of KCl, limiting molar conductivity of KCl minus NaCl, this will be equal to KPr minus NaBr, because you are cutting down the chloride part, and in the equal to KBr minus NaBr mean bromide will be cancelled, so it is actually equal to potassium minus Na, and in the other side also it is K minus Na. So that means wherever you have same ions coming, that will be get cancelled. Usually in Corlash's law there is numerical, so when you do the numerical you will understand it better. So limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte is calculated using the values of strong electrolyte by applying Corlash's law. We are almost done.
This is all coming to the example.
Yeah, there is only one more slide as a content, then what left is only solving some numericals. Yeah? Next class only. So, can I change the slide for the last content in this chapter? That is application of Corlash's law. Okay, anyway, we'll do tomorrow then. So that
Ma'am.
I remember when I dropped the test tube, some of the solution got in my hand. And now it's very oily. And now the pan doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work.
If it was concentrated, then your pan will get what you can say.
He said this aluminum sulfate is no.
Ma'am.
Sulfate was my salt.
Yes, Razana.
Ma'am, you'll be getting the whole chapter for the exam, right?
Yeah, full chapter. So by tomorrow we'll finish then.
Thank you, ma'am.